So if you meditate every single day, you will become less of an NPC, is the best way to say it. What I mean by that is most people are in a heavily subconscious state, which means that they are cyclical beings. Every day they just repeat a certain pre-programmed cycle, which is their subconscious. Maybe you could think that the subconscious is almost like the programming of that person, of the body, and that's just what it does. And you use your conscious mind, or you could think the mind itself, the brain, to reprogram that, to think, tomorrow I want to do this. Almost like an interrupt. You interrupt the pattern, the flow, and say, now it's time to do this thing. I want to do this. I want to, even though I don't feel like it, even though maybe it's not the right time, because it's not cyclical, it's not like harmonious within the subconscious. I want to do that. And eventually you'll just kind of then dip into subconscious while doing that new thing. You'll kind of relax and get used to it enough, right? And that's how it becomes a subconscious habit, because everything, the idea of genetics is just what your parents did, and your parents' genetics is what your grandparents did, right? Depending on how much consciousness was used will depend on how different those genetics become, so to speak. Yeah. So what I mean is, like, the more you will things to change, the more they will change. Otherwise, things won't. And of course, if we want to go on to genetics just quickly, eventually, usually in like different cycles of society, there are easy cycles and hard cycles. And on the easy parts, or easy parts of the cycle, I should say, and difficult parts. And the easy parts, people will take on bad habits. They'll kind of cut corners and do things quickly and easily, or whatever, or lazily. And then during the harder parts, people have to like cut back. They have to become more conservative, and they have to refine things and be more careful. It's a bit like 80% of your resources goes just as quickly as 20% of your resources. That's kind of a joke, if you know what that one is like. But anyway, back to meditation. So if you meditate every day, you will become more conscious. Now, this can actually be a negative. If you do already meditate every day, maybe it's good to take a meditation vacation where you don't meditate. Otherwise, if you don't meditate, it might be good to spend a week or two meditating and just feeling what it's like. So you become more conscious, and instead of being subconscious, right? Which means that instead of, maybe you make a lot of mistakes, maybe you just, you did that thing, geez, that was bad, why didn't I think about that before? If you don't meditate, everything just happens in the moment. And this can almost be pleasant in a way, because it's almost like you don't have to take responsibility for things. Most people are not taking responsibility for their lives, for their jobs, for much of really anything, unless they absolutely have to. Again, if it's the bad part of the cycle, when you absolutely have to because there just aren't enough resources, then people have to start taking responsibility. People have to start being careful. But when people are in a good part of the cycle, they don't. They can be a bit more lazy, right? It's the same way, people who don't meditate can be a bit more lazy. And this is more soothing to the body and the nervous system. Being in a subconscious state is more healing and soothing. So people who don't meditate physically are probably going to be more built, maybe, and less stressed. But they will have more issues. Well, a person who meditates will have less issues because they constantly are seeing the problems in everything. They're constantly seeing what's wrong, what they need to do. They're seeing the issues with other people because they have more consciousness. Their senses, their eyes and ears, right, are going to be sharper. And of course, this can be painful, which is why, depending on the kind of meditation, because you can do positive meditation, which is more the energy is focused more in the head, which stimulates and enhances the nervous system and the senses and the brain more. You do negative meditation, which the consciousness is more around the bowels and the genitals and like the hips and pelvis, right? And that enhances the flesh body, still stimulates the nervous system quite a lot. Or you can do in the middle of the body, there's different areas, right? Or you can do the whole body. And of course, there's more meditations than that. This is just focusing on the body. There's all kinds of visualizations. There's a practice of magic and such. Meditation is a gym. What can you do in the gym? You do everything. You can do bench press, you can do leg press, you can use the dumbbells, you can use a treadmill. There's all kinds of there's martial art sections. There's all kinds of places in the gym, right? But just in general, the general meditation is really just to sit there and to be. To sit and to be. This is like a void meditation, right? Which can be good. But as I said, it will make you more conscious. It will overstimulate your nervous system, especially if you overdo it. Then you will overstimulate the nervous system. So you need to moderate. And of course, if you're noticing that you're becoming overly conscious and your nervous system is being too stimulated, maybe you have an anxiety disorder, or you are stressed out too much because of life problems, meditation maybe isn't the right thing for you. Of course, there are meditations which help you to clear stress and all this stuff and relax the body. But in general, you are essentially opening yourself up more and more spiritually. You're cleaning out the nervous system, stimulating it more and enhancing it more and more. And again, if your physical situation is not healthy, it's not exactly the best thing to do. It's kind of like if you're running from a problem that's going to eat you in another couple of days or hours or even seconds, it may not be the smartest thing to meditate. Of course, if you're meditating in order to fix the problem, that's fine. But if you're meditating and it's jacking up your nervous system, and because of that, you're becoming more and more stressed and miserable because of your strong life problems, then maybe it's not a good thing. Essentially, you're sharpening a sword. You are a sword, and meditation is you sharpening it. You can over-sharpen the blade to the point where it becomes weak, and when you're swinging with it, it will crack, or even maybe crack in half, right? But of course, if you have a dull blade, it'll be stronger, but it won't cut as well. So it's like a slab of metal. Some people are like the slab of metal. They're completely unrefined, completely unsharpened, and they just rely on whacking things, I guess, to get through life. While some people are very, very sharp, but they're so sharp that but they have no strength behind them. I don't know. It's different ways to think about this, right? So again, you have to find out for your own life whether meditation's right, because maybe you are okay with taking on the burden of more consciousness, of a more stimulated nervous system, more developed nervous system. Again, meditation is a pathway to occultic secrets, to intuition, to psychic abilities, to magic. And all of these things are a big responsibility to have, and sometimes they are horrible. Sometimes they are miserable. If you can feel and experience, and in your head you can think other people's thoughts, and you're around people who are not good, it is horrible. It's a bit like the idea of like looking into conspiracy theories. These things aren't fun. These things aren't nice. But it's not it's probably a good idea to understand that they are there to an extent, right? Of course, many people just go through life never really looking at those and being ignorant of them, right? Whether they want to be ignorant or whether they just don't believe things, or maybe they're just not on the consciousness level to understand and experience that, and these people probably get through life just fine. Of course, certain parts of their lives are going to be lacking, maybe. So I guess at the end of the day, the nervous system it can be a cure, and it also can be a poison, but it definitely is an acquired taste. Of course, there's a reason why silver and mercury, which are the two magical metals, silver of the mind, mercury of the nervous system, are thought to be poisonous. Mercury, they say, is very poisonous. Is it actually? Well, I don't believe that, no. Silver, of course, any metal in excess, silver, of course, or mercury and silver are both used in medicine, and I think they still are to some extent, but anything in excess is poisonous. But these things that's why these metals can be seen of as, or like that. Well, silver's more, people wear it as rings, so it's not really sort of something like iron or steel is used in everything, right? That's a more common metal relating to the muscles, right? So it's a bit more generic, it's a bit more accepted. I think your nervous system can be a poison to your body if you don't know how to handle it or you have it in excess. So anyway, I'll leave it with that, of course. Check links in the description for social commercial stuff, and have a nice day. So something interesting is that you have a lot of people who are, you'd think, smart, right? Like, wow, that person's smart. Wow, they're different. And there's lots of those kinds of people in like my generation, maybe, or the current kind of generations. At least, I don't know, that's what the older people seem to think. But the problem with these smart people is that they can't integrate into society. They suck so badly at just doing regular things. A lot of these people struggle to drive. That's like a really big one. They struggle to drive. They struggle when it comes to relationships, especially romantic relationships. So a lot of them are single and don't have friends. Some of them, they struggle like cooking and cleaning, like basic kind of house keeping, just like keeping themselves alive. Like these people can't navigate anywhere or negotiate or do like basic repairs, just like things you need to do to stay alive and to function in society, make money. These people struggle, but they're very good at programming or engineering or chemistry or like analysis or I don't know, designing things or understanding, like even spirituality. That's another big one. Of writing, reading. Again, these people are mentally dominant. The upper body is the dominant part. Some of them even could be like really good at sports, right? Some of these people are, even if it's like a physical thing, they're really good at that thing, but they suck at everything else, right? And there's names of like Asperger's syndrome, like functioning autism, and like ADD, and there's all these tags related to it, right? But what I see, it's almost like the hero's journey of these people is integrating into society and learning how to function in the world. And aging does that. Usually by the time someone's about 30, even if they do have these kinds of issues, they would have had to integrate. But even around 30, there could still be issues. Like I've talked to people like mid-30s, and it seems almost like they're more integrated, but there's definitely stuff, ways to go. And I think what's happening is more and more people are becoming like this. It's like the jokes of like everyone's becoming autistic, and the reasons why it could be faulty medical procedures, or it could be EMF radiation. I think that's another thing. So there's like a lot of different things: lack of nutrients in the soil, lack of like when I was young, we weren't allowed to really leave the house all that much. That could just be controlling parents. But I kind of understand it. It's like, if you live in a place that's very multicultural, let's say, it is, you don't really want to let your kids, outside the house because they could get, bad things could happen, let's just say. So I do understand. So it's like a lack of, really, it's a lack of integration into life and society, especially from a young age. The whole idea of like 20s almost being a second adolescence for people, and it's really strange. It's almost like some people age really quickly and some age really slowly. When you look at like the younger people, right? Like especially Gen Z, like you've got some that are like super like old and mature, and then you've got others that are not very mature. To put it that way. So the 20s should not be a second adolescence. Really, what I think is that I think we should be, integrating people into society earlier and raising people so that when they are in their teens, that they can make better decisions and be proper mature adults. And by 16, I think I was pretty much as I was more mature as an early. I was earlier. I was mentally mature earlier. So when I was younger, I was always mature earlier. But by 16, I was pretty much like as, it's just that I lacked physical strength and, the physical side of things. But I think trying to baby people and like extending adolescence is the worst thing that we can do. It's not really especially like the poorer you are, the less fun that would be, because like you need to make money and you need to like survive and get yourself up and get away from bad people and places, and like you really don't want to be weaker and naive and stupid and like not very good at society while younger. Well, if you're richer, it's a bit like, well, the rich people have a bit more money to play with, a bit more, they usually go to university and then they have or they join a company if they're parents or whatever. It's kind of a bit more of a lubricated experience. It's a terrible word to use, but it gets the idea on there. So they can kind of be a bit more immature if they want to, of course, not all of them. But if they want, it's a bit easier because money lets you be naive and stupid as long as you have money. But once you, of course, you lose it by doing that. So anyway, really the main thing is like we got a lot of people who are very stuck in their heads and very smart people, but the problem is they lack the lower elements, lower abilities. And they need to, ground themselves and integrate into society. And that will be the difficult thing. It's like for, the people who are overly grounded, learning chemistry is difficult. Learning engineering is complicated, right? For the overly mentally stimulated person, learning to drive and learning to get a job and learning to deal with the government and learning to marry and have children, have a stable family is going to be a really hard thing. And that's what those people need to focus on. That's what those people need to accomplish and do, because otherwise society is not really going to function, unfortunately. And we are straying further and further from reality, and that's not good. And things will crumble if we stray further and further from reality, because it's a bit like endlessly building upper story buildings but not fixing the problems at the ground. You can't build castles in the sky without a proper foundation, I guess, right? Or without any foundation at all, it'll come crashing down, which is kind of what society is experiencing, I guess. Anyway, check the links in the description of social and commercial stuff, and have a good day. Okay, so here's a talk on the middle level of socialization. Now, the color for this is green, so if you wear a lot of green, it puts you in this kind of area, right? And this is the middle level because you have to conquer the lower levels to get here. Now, the lower levels are things like money, career, like place to live, stability, health, anything related to business and health and stability and having your life together, right? It's difficult to socialize and have people over or to go over to a place to meet people, just say if you don't have like a vehicle or a means of transport, or you just can't, like, if your life isn't together, if like you can't wake up and meet at a certain time. So there are requirements to socializing, which is why it is in the middle level. When people get to this level, see, the level of ego is one below, and the level of communication is one above. So ego and communication are almost like accessories or aids to this level. If you sound weird and you can't talk properly, people will judge you and they won't want to be around you. If you look weird or, not like very good, right? That's the level of ego. Or if you can't present yourself personality wise strong enough, again, people will not really want to be around you, or they will judge you silently or whatever, right? Unfortunately. So these surrounding levels, ego is the belly, communication is the throat and the lungs, the arms to an extent. That's like arms are like the lower. It relates to Gemini, right? The lower areas there. But still, if you look at the spinal cord connection, it's pretty close to the throat, the arms are. And then, of course, the heart is the chest, right? Which is communication. It's connection and family and such. So women inhabit the central areas more so than men. It's like the idea of IQ. Women are mostly average, and men are more often below average or above average. That's pretty much how you graph men and women in general, is that men inhabit the below and above, women inhabit the middle. So women are usually born able to access this middle area, while men have to earn it and have to work towards it, right? And usually if a man has earned it, he will have gone, that's like his halfway point in life, middle-aged, or he has, got to a halfway point of enough success, not really a whole lot of success, but enough to survive and to kind of be out there in the world, right? Now, of course, if you're middle class, you are pretty much born at this point. Depending if you're lower middle class, you might be stuck in the ego area more. If you're upper middle class, then you will be more in the communication area. Travel, communication, upper middle class people can travel because they have a bit more money, right? So depending on your class, which you are born with, will depend on where you inhabit more. Of course, different races will inhabit different parts of the body and of life. So some races are more community-based, communal, like the South American people, very, very communal, very in the heart. Southern European people. So you can kind of think like central or slightly above the equator, maybe. That's one way to look at it. So anyway, of course, if you look at this in a more practical sense, one thing is, as I said, you need to be able to drive or get to people. You need to be able to meet people and talk to people, have some way to do that. Of course, you need to have basic social skills, which really just means being able to relate to people and talk to them, and not seem too weird if you can avoid it. And there are other, practical limitations like, do you have enough cups and tables and chairs and bowls and resources to share? So you don't throw a party without any resources, right? You need these things, and you need to be able to cater for everyone. And people who are very like communal, very at the center of the heart, are very friendly to everyone. They're very social. They keep a large network. They're everyone's friend, and they will talk to everyone and be around everyone. Some people need to access this level to survive. Women usually have to access this level to survive. So they are very, they can be cutthroat socially, while men can be more cutthroat business and work wise, you can think. By that I mean not allowing anything to get in the way of them getting what they want through using socialization to get it. Or not allowing anything to ruin their reputation, so to speak, or a man, it would be ruining his business or money. So you will inherently or instinctually feel the desire to be around people and reach out to people and connect and to do things, like wear clothing that lets you look higher status if you're a man, or look more beautiful if you're a woman, or you will instinctually have the feeling to prepare and plan and do stuff to make it so that you are able to socialize better, right? And be in a more social way and such. When you are either at this level or preparing to get to this level, or if you're already in this level, you will be socializing a lot. You'll probably have friends and family. If you have your own family or children, you've essentially cemented this level. And of course, people can, the divorce can happen, and people can get estranged or not see their children, and that means, that means there's an issue with this level. It's a bit like if you have a kid who cannot access the social level, they will not be able to talk to you anymore, or really anyone else. Social media, this level is, people who don't have social media do not inhabit this level. People who do. Usually your workplace, maybe they will need to communicate with you through something, be it email or phone or social media. So technologically different generations use different ways of communication, right? Like boomers, Gen X, they're a bit more phone, maybe like Facebook, and the younger generations are a bit more other stuff. Like in the past, it would be postage and email and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you can think like, as I said, communication technology, or technology and websites and software that allows for communication. The idea of like dating websites and apps, ways for people to meet each other. These are all like platforms for this level, while a restaurant or a bar or a cafe or someplace that people talk to each other and meet each other, this is a physical location. You can think a restaurant inhabits the heart and the digestive system, because you eat at a restaurant or a bar, right? But you also are there to connect to other people. People go there as like a social experience. So it's like certain locations will represent, like a library of courses. The throat, because it's of language in the mind, but specifically more so the back of the like the spinal region and the cerebrum, right, the back of the head, because it's more the storage of knowledge, right? If you have trouble connecting to people and living a social life and such, you will have probably issues in the body with the heart region, the chest region, the solar plex region, maybe. Of course, if you have issues with the lower areas of the body, you can't build up enough like stability to even reach this level. It's a bit like, imagine a bottle and you're filling it full of water. If the bottle has holes in it, it will spill water out of it and you just won't be able to collect enough water. You're trying to collect enough water to stably be at the middle level, the middle ground, right? And this is kind of the middle ground because society in general is all about people. It's probably one of the most important levels. And if you are, not functional at this level, it makes life very difficult, unfortunately, because it makes it hard to get things that you want, to satisfy yourself as an animal and a human, and all kinds of things. It's hard to get work. Um, it may be hard to get information, buy things. Who knows? So it's a very important part, which is it's like you can think it almost connects to everything the same way that the heart connects throughout your whole body through your blood vessels and arteries and such. And it's also the start of like spirituality and non-physical stuff. The reason being is that speaking to people it's like a connecting to people. It's like an abstract, energetic thing, right? It's a bit like reading a book is a weird internal experience. It's not like grabbing a rock and bashing it against another rock, or I don't know, standing in some water or in some dirt or something. It's not like a really tangible physical experience. It's a more internal, emotional, energetic, abstract experience, I guess. I don't know. I guess other things is like everyone's a portal. That's one weird way to think about it. So you got to be careful with people, because people, again, as I said, everyone's a portal, and some people can be a portal to misery, right? Some people can be a portal to happiness or to better things, because of course when you connect with a person, you temporarily are sharing that person, like the experience with that person or something like that. It's like your worlds are, like exchanging, right? And a person's world is like their perspective, almost their experience, their and such. It's like you slowly start to get closer to that person and their soul. And I guess that's the idea of marriage. You bind the body and the soul, and that's like the ultimate expression of this point in life is connecting with another person completely, right? With no boundaries, but not in like a dangerous way, right? It's a bit like if you don't have boundaries, you will get hurt, right? Because there are bad people out there that look for people without boundaries. But if you can be so open with someone who is open with you, but in a safe way, because it's like healthy and you're both, just totally on the same page, that's like, a way that you almost like connect, right? Like fully connect, right? And that is, and I think that's like the heart is like the center of the electromagnetic field or something in the body, or maybe I don't know, maybe to the lower, but it's something like that. And then it's like the connection of two electromagnetic fields, right, of the heart, and that's kind of like the function of it partially. Of course, there's other functions, the heart, which is like psychically feeling energy, but you know what I mean. Like it's like a really like powerful thing, right? And that's how we have these feelings of like, oh, I notice this person's not happy today, or they're a little uncomfortable, or this person's happy, or this person's like, you know, sad, or whatever. You like feel them out, right? You just or maybe like, I don't know, this person, they don't feel like a person I want to be around or something like that, you know? Like, just I feel bad around this person all the time. Like that's you feeling with your, I think your heart, I think your electromagnetic parts, I don't know, something like that, right? If you're not at this level, you want to get there, you just have to like focus on getting yourself stable enough and like just make a lot of money. Money fixes all problems, right? Not really, but well, I mean, yes, it does, but only if you're like, able to use it properly. And then, build yourself up and eventually, I don't know, eventually something will happen, I guess. Or you'll have the space to be able to, talk to people and like connect with people, or you could completely just ignore it and go to the next level, the fifth level of the throat, which is communication and travel. It's up to you, really, what you want to do. But you won't really be complete as a person if you do that. So, I'll leave it with that. Of course, have a good day and check the links in the description for social and commercial stuff. Goodbye.